Hi everyone, bit of a different video for you today, checking out the PC game Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. I'm going to show you some of the gameplay, give you my opinion towards this game. So the basic story of this game is that you're a member of the Inquisition battling the forces of chaos. The opening animations of the game do a cool job showing you the 40th millennium with some sweet clips showing you the horrors that confront these Inquisition operatives. So you get to choose between 4 operator types, being a Sharpshooter, or aka an ex-Imperial Guardsman, an Ogren, a Psyker and a Priest. So once you've chosen your character type, you have to then do a lot of customization, choosing your birth planet, childhood, your upbringing, and how you ended up becoming a convicted felon of the Imperium of Mankind. This is all really cool to start, but to be honest, I haven't seen this really being used in any of the gameplay or impacting storytelling in my play so far. You can of course also build your appearance, choosing to be either male or female, your eye colour, hairstyle, facial hair, scars, tattoos, height, you name it. You also get to choose your voice type, and this is really cool as you'll hear your character yelling out certain things during gameplay. So this game is a cooperative first-person shooter multiplayer game where you form squads of 4 to battle it through different missions. You can elect to play the Prologue, which helps you learn the key controls and tells the story of how you ended up in the Inquisition, where you're on a prison ship that's boarded by the forces of chaos and your cell door is blown down by an explosion and you can find your escape. You decide to fight the intruders and seek out other loyalists. You stumble across a wounded member of the Inquisition and assist her to fight their way through to the evacuation point, where she, having seen your valour in combat, recruits you into the Inquisition as an Inquisition recruit. So from there you get into the game itself properly, and the starting point is on board the Inquisitor's ship. Here you can select to buy new weapons using either credits you earn in the game, or there's also ability to buy weapons with actual real money. You can also buy yourself some new outfits, and you can have the weaponry customized by a tech priest. You can take on contracts to earn credits to get mystery Wargear, and of course you have to choose your mission. Mission selection is either those on offer, which change over time, and they've got differing levels of challenge. There's also the option to go for a random mission with you selecting the difficulty. There are 5 levels of difficulty, and I typically always go for the 4th one, being Heresy. You eventually paired up with some other online players to form a squad of 4 operatives. There's also the option to team up with any of your online friends in a private game, but I haven't done this option myself personally.
Your target is Archivum Secretive Complex Dish. Don't worry, you are not being asked to destroy it. Your orders are to capture the dish and transmit some kind of encrypted message to a hidden listening post. Don't ask me questions, because I don't have any solid answers for you. Just get it done!
So first impressions in the missions themselves is that it's a well-detailed environment with all the feel of the 41st millennium. The weaponry, enemies and characters are spot on. Combat is a hectic mix of ranged and close fighting, with a host of individually tough enemies through to hordes of chaff. The Sharpshooter does most work at range, picking off high value targets, and with the right application of force, it's easier to manage these bulkier enemies. And where the game is the most chaotic and perhaps the most challenging is when the hordes come rushing in, which is announced with a dramatic howl. This next sequence is a nice example of this, and this is probably about a 5 out of 10 for intensity as far as hordes are concerned.
I sentence these enemies to death in his name! Stand by to engage! Throwing grenades! Grenade! Here! Catch this!
As you can see, it's a bloody affair, chainsawing your way through hordes of poxwalkers, and the fight mechanics here are sufficiently gory. I absolutely love using all the weapons that an average guardsman would use, with even the simple grenade having very, very satisfying results.
Chucking grenade! Grenade for you! Here! Catch this!
The guardsman has access to a wide array of weaponry, with the trusty lasgun being a good all-rounder. The plasma gun, as you can see here, is a very powerful one-shot weapon, which does heat up with use, with it being unable to be fired once you've hit maximum temperature. You can actually still fire it when it's at max temperature, but it should take on a bit of damage, so very thematically in line with the story of 40k. The bolter is sufficiently brutal, with it being slow to draw and reload, but devastating when used properly into the right target. The Sharpshooter also has access to auto guns and pistols, whilst the other character types also have access to weapons more specific to their style of play. So you can see this game has a great level of detail that really immerses you into the 41st millennium. Plenty of weapons to try out, with the bolter and power sword being my personal favourites. This game, however, has run into a lot of criticism online, a lot of which I agree with, unfortunately. Firstly, there's only a handful of maps on offer, where the different missions are all played on. They are big enough to spend an average of 30 minutes per mission, but even as a casual gamer, I'm getting pretty bored of all of them. Secondly, the customization is actually quite limited. Whilst you can have a tech priest modify your weapons, aside from being more killy, I really don't know what any of them have actually done for my weapons. I do think for more melee weapons, it's a bit more obvious, as you can pull off some attack combinations, but to me as a casual player, I just don't know what they've done. Thirdly, beyond the opening animations and the prologue mission, there isn't much storyline progression once you hit level 30. As said at the start, you get to choose your character's story, but beyond the way they talk in the game, it's not obvious what any of this customization has done for the story of the game. Fourthly, as I understand it, this game requires some pretty powerful hardware to run smoothly on your PC. I'm lucky that my brother-in-law is a programmer, and he recommended I buy a whiz-bang computer, but from what I've read online, this game needs some serious high-end graphic cards to support it properly. And finally, for all but the most hardcore gamers, this game feels like a simple button bashing exercise. As said several times, I'm a casual gamer, and every mission feels basically the same. This in itself may not actually be a fault, and I actually quite enjoy the repetitive nature of bashing and slashing, shooting heretics after a long day of work, but this simplicity may not be for everyone. So do I recommend this PC game? Not really. It's missing the depth of other similar games out there, and for a lot of people, their machines may not actually be able to run this PC game anyway. The developers have said they are working on updates to improve the game, maybe check back in a couple of months. However though, if you do have a powerful enough PC and want to enjoy some casual button bashing whilst firing a bolter and hearing an Ogrim talk incoherently, with a priest selling war hymns and a psychic casting powers from the warp, then do give it a go. It can be a lot of fun, but that's the limit of it. So yep, hopefully you found that interesting, even if not a PC gamer. And if you have played this game, I'd love to hear what you think of it. So get your bayonet sharp, lads gone oiled, faith in the Emperor strong, Patron platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn, Tank Commander Mitchell, Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten, Colour Sergeant DuPont, Sergeant Broxius, Adal, the Colonel Merrill, Veterans Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Guardsman Beard, Coquelin, Flint, Hills, Malik, Nitton, Nguyen, Smith, Tom, Tompkin, Conscript Bosun, England, Gilliam, Goodwin.